So The Man Who Fell to Earth came here on the 25th. I had to get it because it had been out for so long. Um, the Criterion edition is still going for like $200 right now, which is I think is completely ridiculous for a film. There's also Lionsgate had released a re-release of that, I believe, in 2017, 2016, and that's out of print, and now that's expensive. Um, Maybe reflects like the worst of like the hobby of like Blu-ray collecting, because I don't think you should ever spend more than, I would say, like if it's a box set, okay, I understand that. But whenever it comes to like a single title, even in its importance, and even if it is your favorite movie, okay, maybe that, okay, maybe if it's your favorite movie, I'll understand. But I would never pay like $100, $200 for one single title. I'm sorry. Like that's why streaming's got physical media beat in some instances, because it's like if you really want to see like a physical copy of like, some certain films, you're going to have to pay out the ass for it, and I just don't agree with that, especially in the time and age that we're living in. But anyway, enough of my soapbox here. So get into the movie. David Bowie is an alien from another planet that comes to it seems like New Mexico. Yeah, that's what the state was. And he tries to give water back to his own planet because he is introduced to the vices of the earth. He eventually loses the plot, and we go from there pretty much. So, a lot to unpack here with this film. So, Nick Roeg, who directed this, one of the all time great British directors, I put him up there with Alfred Hitchcock, Michael Powell, numerous others that I'm not able to mention at this time. But I do think that he went on a stretch there. Like he had made Performance with Donald Cammell. Um, Trying to think. Walkabout, of course, one of my favorite all time films, and then Don't Look Now, which is three all time, great films that everybody should see. I think they're all wonderful. Now, this film is where I will say The Man Who Fell to Earth demonstrates, I think, Rogue's sort of it's almost like he sort of lost the plot with this film in some way, because in reality the story that it was adapted from is a very simple story. It's really that, even if you were dropped off on an alien planet and you were to get into these vices and stuff, how can we really like differentiate that fact, excuse me, with how can you differentiate that fact with just the desires that we have currently now, you know like with the TV, that the multiple TVs that David Bowie watches, or the alcohol that him and Mary Lou drink. There's a lot of solemnness to this movie. There's a lot of pain to it that I was very surprised about, because when you read about Man Who Fell to Earth, it's sort of like, well, it's just this movie with David Bowie in it, and that's why like it gets so much love that it does, is because people love David Bowie, and that's great. I'm not the biggest fan, but like I do think that that's the reason why it has a staying power, and that's why we have this 4K transfer, um, this 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. But what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, I think because the film is so simple, and it's like Rogue had to kind of like stretch it out and make it into something that maybe like, because some of the images here are beautiful, some of the images are thought-provoking, especially like with the multiple TVs, and some of the some of like the alien um, some of the alien imagery in here is also very next level, like hard stuff, right? It's really awesome. But that kind of all gets lost with a plot that I think sort of like plods along. I remember like because I watched this movie twice now. The first part of the film, the first half of it, I just found to be um, it's sort of jarring. You really don't know why he's here, David Bowie's character. You just know that he's just on Earth trying to figure it out, which you sort of get that idea at the beginning of it. But once he gives that ring to the pawn shop woman, it just totally, switches over to him just being like this, excuse me, this head of this corporate entity. And I found that to be just like there's a lot of gaps in time here that pass that have like sort of no transition and don't have you really kind of have to like figure it out for yourself, which is fine. But there was like a part of me that was just like, wait, whoa, 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 what's going on here? You kind of have to, which once you watch it first, but even the second time around, I was sort of like, whoa, wait, like you kind of have to. And there's a couple of scenes here that I don't know why it was in there was like scenes that really didn't add to like the flow of it. It really, like I said, it really personifies like the worst parts of Nicholas Rogue, which in some instances I do think the film's ideas, like a performance or like Walkabout, they kind of succeed in spite of his experimentation, like with certain scenes that don't really even need to be there. As much as I love Walkabout, there's a scene in there like there's a scene there between I can't really remember the exact moments, but it was like this group of guys and this one woman that it really didn't even need to be there. It was just there for just to take a break in the action or something. And I kind of got a lot of this with this movie. I will say the best part of this I feel is Candy Clark and Rip Torn's performances, which I think they did very, very well. Excellent even. And even David Bowie, I think, even though that he doesn't blow the doors off, I could barely hear him sometimes, and I think that maybe just the audio issues that the film has, but I could barely hear him. I have to put subtitles on this film because it's like the audio's kind of messed up on it, but I don't think that that's a problem with the 4K disc as much as it is the actual movie. But the actual film itself is almost sort of like this weird oddity, and I think that maybe what Rogue was trying to come up with and trying to make the simple story a lot more complex than what it is, which some of the ideas can be, like I stated before, but like even so, like I think that the film's plot is not really well put together. I think the passage of time is like very excellent. I do think that some of the scenes and some of are really beautiful and breathtaking. But is this like a film that you should like go out of your way and watch because it has David Bowie in it? I don't even think so, and that's coming from a huge Rogue fan like I am. I'm not a fan of this movie. The 4K transfer as well, I thought was problematic in this. I remember watching the Criterion version a long time ago on the channel, and it was very pale and plain. But I remember that it had a lot of clarity to it. This I think does have a lot of grain and it is very detailed, but for whatever reason, the contrast on this was totally blown out. There were scenes, especially like on the lake and such, and when David Bowie is meeting with his lawyer, that the lights are almost just totally blind. It just totally blinded me. And I'm just like, man, what's wrong with my TV? Like I need to like really mess with this. So I think that the 4K here is kind of problematic, I think. Um, for a film that already had, I think, problems with it already. There's some like damage in the church scene where David Bowie and Candy Clark's character are like in the church, and there's some damage there. But I would rather you have that in there, which is fine, I guess. But I guess my critique is that this is not the best 4K that I own. It's one of the least, I'd say. So like now the good thing is that this does come with this does come with the Blu-ray to this, which it does have the same transfer, unfortunately. Now, and this isn't to say that like, hey, go and buy the $100 like out of print versions of it or whatever. But I do think that like for fans of this film, you gotta really choose here because like there are some moments in here that I mean they're few and far in between, I think, but when they really show it, I kind of got like I kind of got irritated by it, which is really strange because I'm not really like that in movies. But I think especially like with such a nice packaged film like this, and I think the 4K transfer is probably just it's problematic in itself. So if you really enjoy this film, of course, go ahead and get it. If you already own those versions, I would say there's really kind of no reason to get the 4K in my opinion. But that is that is just, again, my opinion. So if you really want to go out, and I think that the special features are the exact same in the Lionsgate version as well. So yeah, if you want to go on to Best Buy. There's still a bunch of copies left. But those are my thoughts on The Man Who Fell to Earth. Next video will be the Three Colors 4K trilogy. Thank you.